Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Streamer Thought Podcast, where thoughts flow and ideas stick. I'm your host, Jasmine, and today's overall topic is realizations. So it's gonna start off kind of dark. I mean, depending on who you are, but these are also things that I like that I'm really interested in. So the first thing is I don't know if anyone who's listening has heard of this case, but it is like all over YouTube, all over like different like crime podcasts and all that. But it's the David case. So, and I don't know his real name, but David, he's like a singer, rapper, or something. I don't know any of his songs. Honestly, I never even knew who he was until I heard of this case on the Law and Crime Network on YouTube. So, it is really dark. I'm not going to get into what the case is all about because you can look it up yourself. It's pretty detailed. It's pretty gruesome. It's pretty sad, honestly. But to shorten it up, he's on trial for murder of a little girl, and that's not the part that got me. That's like I said, terrible and gruesome and awful and all the things. But it was a part that I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. Okay. Now, there's a saying that I've said it so many times, and I've heard other people say, like, you can order anything from Amazon. And it's like, okay, but not anything, not everything. Apparently, you can order body bags and like kill cages and like all kinds of things to dispose or dismember a body on Amazon. And I think that that's a whole other issue. Like that's crazy. The fact that you can literally just click and pay and Amazon Prime a body bag is wild to me. So that did come out during the case, and so then I started to spiral. Like my mind started to go to so many different things. Like for example, um someone either told me years ago or I saw it on a podcast or something, but they said that whether we realize it or not or want to accept it or not, there is a serial killer in every state most likely that has not been caught and just out here doing what they do. Because I don't know the exact date or year that the last serial killer was caught, but you don't hear about that too much. You don't hear about too many serial killers. And does that necessarily mean that they're not out there, or does that mean that they just don't want us to know about them? Yeah, I think it's that nobody wants us to know about them, because for them to just have fallen off the map, or for a serial killers to be non-existent after a certain period is kind of interesting and a bit unbelievable. Especially since people are obviously putting in Amazon Prime orders for body bags. And so if you're ordering body bags, I'm assuming that you got a body to put in it. So somebody is doing it. And I think on another podcast they mentioned how like maybe the morgues are ordering body bags, but it's like, okay, sure, maybe a morgue is ordering a body bag from Amazon. Sure. But that I feel like that would have to be every morgue probably. I mean, it's also some people, cuz if that person knew to search body bags on Amazon, who else knows to search body bags on Amazon? So that just threw me for a loop. That made me come to a realization that like, maybe not everything is what it seems. Because you would think that you could just get good things on Amazon. I mean, maybe my mind was just going there. Like you can get good things or things quick that you need. Nothing that terrible on Amazon, but apparently it is. Apparently it is. Which also made me think about something else. So I've been watching this Netflix show. I think it's called The Hunting Party. So to not give it all away, I'm just gonna give you like a quick little summary. I only watched a couple episodes so far. Basically, um, there are serial killers, or no. Okay, people who have the propensity to be serial killers. They might not necessarily be one already, but they have the potential to become one. They are in an underground prison, and nobody knows, like nobody has access to it or anything like that, other than law enforcement and the people involved in the underground prison. Like, they are separate from society. And so that made me think, like, okay, with the serial killers, like, hey, do they have them in an underground prison? You know, are they somewhere, and that's why we don't hear too much about it? Or are they really just out here just getting better at committing their crimes? um so I think that whoever the creator of that show, obviously they clearly were thinking like I was thinking, like maybe it's something like that. So not that I would want to go to it because that's crazy, but I think it's interesting, like, to find out like if that really exists, because is I find it hard to believe, like I said, that they don't exist. And maybe not every state, but some, you know, like they are out here. There's crazy people everywhere you go, and you never know. You just never know. So that was, a like I said, dark, a little darker, maybe a start to the episode. So the next topics will be a little lighter, but I still thought that that was important to say because that really was on my mind, and I went from thinking about one case, and my mind just like spiraled to all these other instances that relate though, and it just really made me think, like, the world we live in is full of interesting things and revelations. Some of them can be terrifying and some of them can be good. So, my next revelation. So, I recently saw the Michael movie, which I honestly thought was amazing. I'm not going to give the movie away or anything like that. But I would highly recommend, 10 out of 10. I think everyone should go see the Michael movie. But I think that, and also, side note, my favorite Michael song is Dirty Diana. And I don't know like every song. Like, I'm not like a super fan or anything like that, but I know that he was super talented. And but I did find out, I had a revelation, something that I found out about him from the movie, really, because I didn't know his personal life as much. Like, I heard about the scandal. I didn't know about it. Like, I didn't deep dive into everything, but I heard about it on the news and stuff. Um, but I realized how lonely he was. Like, that was a really lonely man, and it was sad. It was sad to see that he was so lonely. And like I said in my last episode, you can be in a room full of people and still feel lonely, but you're not alone. You are not alone. I can't sing actually, but that just made me think of that song. But yeah, he was a lonely man, and so yeah, that's a bit depressing. And also, another thing that made me think about him after watching the movie was that so many people in the world who were super fans saw this man as literally perfection. It's like they worshiped him, like falling out at his concerts and just, just being, just acting like he was like a god. And even though he was a human, so they saw him as perfect, but he didn't see himself that way. And so, and I feel like that's relatable to many people, like, and not necessarily perfection, but like how other people outside in the outside world see you might not be how you see yourself. Someone could think, oh, that person is so beautiful, and then when you look in the mirror, you're not satisfied with what you see. So it's very much all about like self-worth, self-confidence, stuff like that. And knowing who you are. Someone told me, it was my brother. My brother be saying some really good, he has some really good nuggets that I will always remember sometimes. And so I was upset about something, whatever, I was feeling insecure, and I was telling him about, like, I was rambling and like just being sad. And he just looked at me. He looked at me and he was like, sis, remember who you are. And that stopped me in my tracks. Like I literally just froze and I just looked at him like, uh, okay. And that wasn't him saying like be conceited. That was like remember who you are, where you come from, whose you are, and know that this too shall pass. Like you can cry a little bit, you know. He basically was like cry a little bit, you know, be upset for a little bit, but after that you need to pick yourself up and know that it's going to be okay. And so yeah, I think that that's super important. I tell myself that all the time. He told me that years ago. Like remember who you are. And I have to sometimes remind myself of who I am and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it and whose I am. And so, yeah, if I had to give any advice to like my younger self, that would be it. Like, girl, remember who you are and remember what you're doing it for. Um, but yeah, another realization that I had, and this is just my opinion, like I heard someone say, and this is a side note, but I heard someone say, this is my opinion, not gospel. So I feel like I'm going to go off of that from now on. I don't want anyone to think that what I say is like definitive and what you should believe and you can't have your own opinion. Like I would never do that. I'm just sharing mine. Okay. I'm sharing my thoughts and I'm rambling. You don't have to agree with me and that's okay. So Ray J, I saw who was interviewing him. Uh I think it was Cam Newton. Cam Newton was interviewing Ray J. And Ray J, he's entertaining. I think he's very entertaining, but I also think that he is very hard to follow. Like sometimes I listen to interviews and I'm like, okay, so we went here and then we went there and then we went this way, and I'm not really sure how we ended up where we are. However, in this particular interview, I think that he was easier to follow than in other interviews that I've seen him in. So he said something that I was like, "Oh, okay." He said, "In order to be happy, you must have been sad first, and that you can't appreciate one without the other." And I was like, "Yeah, that's true. That's true." So to be truly happy, to know what true happiness is, you have to have known what being sad was like, you know? To know or to truly appreciate being rich, you had to have known what it was like to be poor. You had to have known what it was like to struggle. Because sometimes, you know, if you've been rich your whole life, you don't know another life. So it's just normal to you. It's not like maybe you don't appreciate it as much as if someone who been poor all their life and then they come into some money and it's like, wow, you know. That's why, it's a mentality sometimes. Like maybe you get a little money, but if you still have that poor man's mentality, as they say, like then you might save more, you might get nervous more, you might about spending money, or even though you have it, like it gives you anxiety to spend it because you don't want to lose it. It was someone that said, I was poor before, I wouldn't mind being poor again. And I was like, okay. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that because I definitely for sure absolutely mind being poor again. If I got some money, I don't ever want to go back. And so I'm definitely that person that's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like I'm nervous about what if I lose it all, and then how would I get it back? Instead of, oh well, just spend it how you spend it, and if you got money, you got money. The next day you might, and then you just have to figure it out. I don't actually want to have to figure it out. So yeah, back to Ray J's point, you do kind of, in order to appreciate something, I agree that you have to be the opposite of it in order to know what that feels like, to really appreciate when you've gotten better. So yeah. And for my last topic, I'm gonna end it on a good note. It started off dark and now it's gonna be light. or maybe just deep, light and deep. So I heard recently, I don't remember if it was in church or if I was listening to someone say this. I can never remember where I get information from sometimes, and that is something I got to work on. But anyways, it was God does what you can't, not what you won't. And that made me think, because I was like, okay, that is so true. So that to me means that you can dream, obviously dream all day. We should all have dreams. Don't ever let anybody kill your dreams. But at the same time, you have to put those into action. You can't just be like, God, I'm dreaming of this. I'm dreaming of that. I'm dreaming that this is going to happen. And then you just like don't ever get up and put one foot in front of the other, or try to put plans in place to make this dream come true. So, yeah, God won't do what you won't. Yeah. So you got to help, and I've said this previously, you got to help God help you. Help God help you. Help you help yourself. so so yeah. That was this week's episode. Thank you all for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye.